Alrighty. So welcome to Friends of Five. I'm here with Simba Sports Matthew, and we have a special guest, Greg Auman. In this case, he works for The Athletic. He covers the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And there's a main reason we have you because Tom Brady, everything, that's the most exciting thing in the world for some. But yeah, we just want to start off by asking you a few questions on how life has changed. I know right now, with the COVID thing going on, things are slowed down. But this must be the most successful offseason right now for the Buccaneers, hasn't it been?
Yeah, it's been wild. I mean, the number of people interested in the Bucs, I don't know if it's doubled, tripled, quadrupled. A lot more people, especially casual fans, interested in the Bucs and how they're going to do with Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski on board. So yeah, it's been wild. He's only really done one press conference. We haven't really seen him in person at all. Haven't had the first practice or anything like that. So I'm sure that'll only grow as things get back to normal here in July and August and September.
Cool.
So would you say I was wondering a little bit, how worried were you guys with the whole Jameis Winston situation, and then did that dramatically change once Tom Brady was picked up from the Bucs?
Yeah, it kind of was a gradual process. I mean, I think most of January and February, a lot of the talk was, first of all, was just how they're going to handle Jameis. Would they give him the franchise tag and give him $27 million, or would they try and sign him to a long-term extension? And I think there was always an awareness that there'd be better quarterbacks available in free agency than usual. I mean, most time, good quarterbacks in the NFL don't really get to free agency. So to have Brady and Rivers and Bridgewater all available, and then guys like Andy Dalton and Nick Foles kind of available on the cheap by trade, there were just a lot more other options out there. So as far as Brady in the Bucs, I don't think I really gave that much serious thought in January or really till the very end of February. When we went to the Combine in Indianapolis, I think you heard a willingness for the Bucs to look elsewhere, and also a very specific interest in Brady. And then, I think the initial hesitation there was, I don't think many people thought he'd leave New England after 20 years. So once that came through, I mean, I can remember it was news that they were willing to just expose themselves to the risk of losing Jameis Winston in free agency to get a shot at looking at Brady or Phillip Rivers or Bridgewater. And you were kind of afraid that, like, what if they got caught with either of them, without either? They're trying to get one guy and they miss out on the guy they had. So in all that, the least likely outcome was probably them landing Tom Brady, and that changed things in a hurry, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, so when you found out, was there? I mean, we had LeBron James come to the Heat, so I feel like it kind of is similar, although Brady's not in his prime. But
right.
We celebrated because we knew we were going to go to the playoffs or the finals in this case. Is it playoffs or bust for you guys?
Oh, no, I think it's very similar here. Like you said, LeBron was certainly in his prime when he went to Miami. Brady's 42. He's going to be 43 in August. So I think there's definitely an awareness that he's on the way out, but still playing at a higher level than what the Bucs are used to. I mean, I think they can expect a good change in a drop-off in turnovers and interceptions, that kind of thing. And I think they think they'll still be able to score some points on offense. So in terms of whether it's playoffs or bust, yeah, I think the expectation here is playoffs. It's a strange thing to say playoffs or bust with a team that hasn't been to the playoffs since 2007. But that's kind of what Tom Brady does. He very immediately changes the definition of success. Tom Brady's used to defining success by how you do in January, whether how many playoff games you win, do you make a Super Bowl, do you win a Super Bowl? The Bucs haven't had that. It's just been, do you make the playoffs? And when you don't, you kind of have that, 7-9 is better than 5-11, that kind of thing. So he's changed things and the expectations here immediately.
Nice.
Okay, so now that Tom Brady came, he's not the only big fish that the Bucs got. Rob Gronkowski, he's back, right? So is he the new number one tight end, or is it still going to be OJ Howard? Like, what are the Bucs planning on doing? Are they going to play them both at the same time? Like, what are we going to see?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I think you'll see a lot more what they call 12 personnel, having two tight ends at the same time. And I think Gronk and Howard are probably the two that will play the most within that. They're probably the two guys that are the most complete tight ends in terms of being able to block, in terms of being able to catch. Them being on the field doesn't signal that it's a passing down or a throwing down at all. So I think they like the idea of their base offensive look being one back, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, and OJ Howard. If you have that, you got four great targets for Tom Brady to throw to, probably a better collection of offensive weapons than he ever had in New England. in terms of who plays how much, I think it's probably in their best interests. I mean, Gronkowski and Howard are both guys that are used to playing about 80% of offensive snaps. I think it probably helps both of them to lower that number a little bit. If they're both 65 or 70%, it makes it more likely, especially if Gronk's coming off of a year away, that they're both going to be healthy and able to help in the playoffs. So I think you'll see all three used. Cam Brate is the number 3 tight end here. He's also number 4 in the NFL in touchdowns over the last 5 years. So great depth at tight end, and I think they'll find a good way to use combinations of those guys to get open and work with the passing game they already have here.
Cool. And then additionally, what Tom Brady brings to a city, we'll find out. But I was told that he has a lot to do with the incoming infrastructure. I guess with St. Petersburg, he's looking to improve the city at itself. Have you heard anything about that at all?
I hadn't heard anything about that. I mean, they've certainly been active here in terms of helping with coronavirus, and I think he and his wife donated 100,000 meals. It's like the auction they put up. They did an auction towards coronavirus relief, where it's like you get to spend, you get Brady's jersey and cleats from his first Bucs game. You get to have either dinner or a workout with him in September, and that drew like $800,000, which is great in terms of relief. So they've done a lot. Obviously, Tom was a big part of the big golf tournament over the weekend that raised $20 million towards COVID. So I think that's where you've probably seen it most in terms of community. I think he and Giselle are both going to be real active here in Tampa with that. And you knew that going in. He's always been someone that's been active in that. As he gets more entrenched and has this where his family is, where this is home for him, I'm sure he'll continue to do more to help the community he's calling home now.
All right.
So obviously Tom Brady's not in his prime anymore, so it's not like he's going to come into the team and he's going to fix every single problem, right? So what else do the Bucs need? Is it a running? Is there something on defense that you got that the Bucs are going to look to fix next? Is it a running back that they're going to try? Because I know Ronald Jones, he's not a bad running back. He leaves something to be desired sometimes. Yeah. So what's the next step for the Bucs? Maybe during the season.
They've spent most of their salary cap, so there's not a whole lot of money to go out and sign anybody right now. I think you'll see them make a couple of depth signings. I think they're probably fine at running back. They just put a 3rd-round pick into Keyshawn Vaughn from Vanderbilt, and they've got Ronald Jones back from last year. So they're probably okay there. There's definitely a couple of positions where they could help their depth, add some maybe more proven depth. You look at outside linebacker, they don't really have very much proven beyond their 2 starters in Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul. Cornerback is a spot where I think they could add some experience depth there. They could use a backup center guard that's played in the league and has some experience. Those are small bit pieces. Those are, 1 year, $1.5 million contracts, those kind of things. So I think they've done for the most part what they're going to do. If they dealt with an injury or something, if they lost somebody, I think because they want to win now, I think they probably would make a move to fill a new hole if one was created, but I don't know that there's a big splash that I expect this team to make between now and the start of the season.
Okay. All right. And I'm sure you heard about the Miami Dolphins getting a new franchise quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. That's pretty exciting for us. That's our Tom Brady. He might play this year. He may not. Any thoughts on, Miami picking him up? Did you think that was going to happen? And do you think there'll be a playoff team in the next couple of years?
Yeah, no, I think Miami, you think about going back to free agency, Miami had so much money to spend in free agency. They had such a ton of draft picks available to them. They should be one of the best, most improved teams in the NFL. Got a lot younger, got a lot better. Whether that's immediately Tua or not is kind of remains to be seen. Obviously, I can tell you from here in Tampa that if you give Ryan Fitzpatrick a chance to play and try and win games, he's good for a 400-yard game or two. But no, I think when you invest a big pick in a rookie like Tua, as high as he was drafted, you want to get him on the field and make him kind of the face of your franchise as soon as possible. I think the interest has been great for Miami. You saw he's probably the number 1 selling jersey in the NFL since the draft.
Ahead of Brady and Gronk.
Yeah, so Brady and Gronk have like 5 of the top 10 as well, I think. So lots of interest in Florida newcomers in the NFL here. But for Miami, like I said, I like the Flores hire. I think they did well not to trade up and still get 2. I was kind of thinking they were going to have to trade up to 3 and give up a draft pick since they had so many. They really had a haul of draft picks, and I think for that, it might not immediately show this year, but they'll be an improved team this year. And if they're not a playoff team by 21, I think a lot of people would be surprised. The AFC East, as we know it, is changing in a big way. Patriots, finally for them to lose Brady and Gronkowski, it kind of kills some of that death grip they've had on the division title there for the last 11 years. The Bills, I think, are going to continue to be better, so they're going to be a playoff team. It'll be fun to see. And honestly, the Jets kind of get overlooked in this. That division, in terms of parity and being competitive, should be much better than what we've seen, again, in 15 years probably.
Cool.
What was it like having Fitzpatrick in the Bucs when, I mean, he looks like he's a lot of fun, but did he teach anything to Jameis Winston or anything like that? Like, did it help Jameis Winston at all? Or, because we're looking at Ryan Fitzpatrick like, oh, he's going to help Tua develop. He's going to help. So is that like a realistic, thing that it's going to happen?
It's a little bit of both. Fitz was a lot of fun to have here. He's really smart guy, a really funny guy. If you go back to that press conference, he beat the Eagles in week 2 in 2018. He came out with Deshaun Jackson's chains and sunglasses and jacket on, and it was just spontaneously hilarious. One of my favorite moments covering a game where like it was a big win. He threw for 400 yards. They beat the defending Super Bowl champs, but it was funny enough where that was almost the better story than what we saw on the field that day. I think Fitz is a really good guy to have around a young quarterback. I don't know if he helped Jameis as much just because 18 was a rough year for Jameis. He started the year with a suspension. While he was suspended, Fitz did really well. We saw Fitz magic was the whole big thing in Tampa. He had a couple 400-yard games, beat the Saints, beat the Eagles, and it kind of created that doubt of whether Jameis was the best quarterback. So even though Jameis got the job back, when he struggled, Dirk Cutter went back to Fitz. And Fitz had his moments, but then he threw a bunch of interceptions and went back to Winston. So Ryan Fitzpatrick had this amazing career where he's carried on for so long. He's thrown for a ton of yards. He manages to get in the game and make an impact every year, whether he's designed to be the starter or not. But it's tricky because there's a temptation to go to him when a franchise really needs to go to the guy that just put a number 5 overall pick.
Yeah.
Your best interest is to get Tua on the field, let him learn on the field. Make sure you find out right away, hey, is this the guy that's going to be our future franchise quarterback, the guy that can lead us back to the playoffs? It's hard to do that because you can go with Fitz, and Fitz is like 37 years old, but he's going to keep you in games. He's going to throw for a ton of yards. He might throw a couple picks too. Like I said, there's a little bit of a torn aspect where you want what's best for the franchise long term, but Fitzpatrick can help you win short term. So it's tricky that way.
Nice. So do you think Tom Brady stays for a second year?
Yeah, he's got $25 million guaranteed next year. So,
okay. I
mean, short of a major injury, I don't know why he wouldn't. I mean, he made a 2-year commitment here. He's talked about playing until he's 45. I want to say he's only 42 right now, but he hasn't missed a game due to injury since 2008. So he's kept himself healthy. He's got an entire cottage industry of books and products and fitness systems for why you can keep your body healthier than it should be. He's doing something no one's ever done. There's never been a 43-year-old full-time starting quarterback in the NFL, but he did a lot of things at 42 that no one had done at 42. So I would think he's back for the next year. I'm sure if he wanted to walk away, he could and probably return the guaranteed money or something. But I think every intention is for him to be here the next 2 years and then decide from there.
Nice.
So Vegas has the Bucs over/under at 9.5, right? I'm not saying you're a betting man, but if you were a betting man, what do you think what's the best bet?
Right now it's like when the schedule came out, whenever it was 2 weeks ago, whenever the schedule came out, they had us do a record prediction, and I had the Bucs at 10-6. I mean, by that you'd take the over. It's tricky because the Saints make it hard to know how they're going to do in this division. They go to New Orleans in week 1. Right away, you're going to know who the team to beat in the NFC South is.
Yeah, it was a top
and
dog.
that's not an easy place to start. Is Drew Brees in week 1, just because that offense has been together and they know each other. So wherein some teams are going to be kind of confused and lost by what they've missed this summer in terms of coronavirus and restrictions on practice and such. New Orleans has been together. It's Sean Payton, it's Drew Brees. They can wake up tomorrow and play, and they'd seem like they're on the same page and doing pretty well. So if they can win that game, then all of a sudden you can look north of 10 wins and really wonder about this being a team that could win a division title and be hosting a playoff game in January. But for now, I think they were at 7-9. I think they thought they were a lot better than 7-9 last year, but I'm sticking with 10-6 right now. It's kind of where I think they start this year out at.
Okay.
Nice. All right. So you're going to go to the playoffs. That's happening. I mean, it's happening.
Yeah, that's the expectation here. I mean, again, Brady could show his age. He could take a big drop off. The defense could look more like they did at the start of last year instead of how they finished last year.
Right.
We don't know. It's a tough schedule. Pat Mahomes comes here to Tampa. Aaron Rodgers comes here to Tampa. They get Breeze twice. There's lots of things that don't make this easy. But again, they feel here pretty good. And I think fans here, if you ask fans, I think we had like 93% on a poll thought they had to have a winning record. And I think 70% thought it'd be 11 wins or more. So if you're not optimistic in May, I don't know when you're optimistic these days.
Good point. Good point.
Okay. Do you know when the NFL season is going to start for sure? Do you have any idea? Are we starting on time, or what have you been hearing about NFL schedule?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, and there's 2 months before you have a training camp start. So the question right now is just whether or not there'll be any kind of team activities or mini camps or anything before normal start of training camp. I think a lot of people think they'll just wait until training camp and come back there, maybe come back a week early where it's July 20th or so instead of July 27th. But no, right now the league is acting as if it'll be a full schedule, whether that's played in full stadiums or limited capacity stadiums or empty stadiums, we don't know. In theory, there's going to be baseball starting before then, basketball, hockey playoffs before then. I think they're going to let those other leagues kind of take the tough parts of that in terms of how they can get crowds together, get games together, and pull those things off and decide from there. The one thing that is nice about the schedule as they created it is that if they wanted to delay the start of the season like a month, weeks 3 and 4 have no division games. So you can cut those 2 weeks out without impacting any of the division races. Everybody still plays the same number of games, home and away. Everybody gets the full 6 division games. The week 2 schedule is constructed in such a way where you can fit those games into each team's existing bye week and just go without a bye. And then if you want to take week 1 and move that to week 18, you would play those games January 10th. And you can have a 14-game season in 14 weeks. You'd still play the Super Bowl the same week as you would be playing it here in Tampa, February 7th. So they have some contingency plans in place if they decide that September 10th isn't the date they want to start their season.
Yeah, I think it's in the best interest for all the other leagues to start already. I think the NFL draft stole so much hype away from all these other sports, such as the NBA. I don't know if you feel the same way. I don't feel people are talking about the NBA anymore. I think it's all about football. That's it. They're ready for the next thing, which is football. I mean, I think any sport that starts right away is going to have huge numbers, but I think it's in everybody's best interest to get their sport out there before NFL starts, because once the NFL starts, it's pretty much over for them.
Yeah, and it'll be wild. I mean, we're not used to having anything but baseball competing for the start of football season. So the idea that basketball season and hockey season could start end of July, or not start of the season, but start of the postseason. So where, when it's week 1 in the NFL, it's going to be the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's going to be NBA playoffs going on. That's used to be a time where, short of baseball postseason getting started, there's not much else going on. So we don't know where college football will meet in on that. I'm really excited about the idea of just getting live sports back. And if it's
get back to your job.
Empty arenas, it's something to watch on TV. It's a good first step back. You just want them to do it smart and do it in a way where the athletes aren't at risk and they're not doing too much too soon, where you worry about more people getting infected than they want.
All right, Greg, I know you're a busy man, and we only promised a few minutes, and you were very generous and gave us a few more minutes. We're just going to leave you out with this last question. And essentially, who's your favorite athletes growing up and current?
Growing up, I grew up I was born in Philadelphia. So my favorite athletes growing up were mostly Phillies. Loved Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton, Tug McGraw. Grew up a big Phillies fan. I was 5 years old when they won a championship in 80. I was still a fan in 83 when they lost to the Orioles. So that was really the first team I really loved. Moved around a bunch growing up. I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was in high school, so I was a big Duke basketball fan then. Now that you get into the business, you don't really have as many favorite players, favorite teams. I'm still a Philadelphia native, so as a default, anything the Philadelphia Eagles do, the Flyers do, the Sixers, the Phillies, I'm always interested in that. I don't really get back to Philadelphia very often. I don't get to watch as many games as I want, so it's just more of a hometown thing there. I went and covered the Bucs in the NFC Championship game. Watched them beat the Eagles and shut down Veterans Stadium in the last game there, and was happy for it because it meant I got to cover Super Bowl in San Diego. So, yeah, my roots are Philadelphia, but I like a little bit of everything nowadays.
Cool.
All righty, guys. That was Greg Auman. He writes for The Athletic. He covers the Tampa Bay Bucs. Thank you very much for being here, everybody. Make sure you click and subscribe to the show. Get your Tua shirts. That's you too, Greg. You can get a Tua shirt because I know you're wondering, hey, where can I get a Tua shirt? Follow 5reasonsports.com, and on their site you can get it. All right. Thank you very much for being on here with us.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
Later.
Wow.